The curse is real.
Hello and welcome to The Curse is Real, a Once Upon a Time podcast. We are Once Upon a Time fans, and today we will be discussing episodes 10 and 11 of Season 1. Be warned, there will be spoilers, and we will be doing our fair share of cursing because the curse is real! My name's Martin.
And I'm John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Katie.
I'm Jesse.
I'm Mike and Katie.
All right, Katie, we can't keep this up anymore. I'm Katie.
I'm Mike.
Might as well tell people the truth.
Princess.
So annoying, Mike.
And I'm
I'm
Martin.
Spartacus. But anyway, this week I don't believe we actually have any news to speak of. Is that right?
The only thing that I really found is that the season 2 promotional poster that's going to be debuted at Comic-Con was released recently, and it looks pretty. That's really all.
It was filled with Season 2 spoilers. I noticed it told us that Rumpelstiltskin will still be in the show.
Yes.
Ooh.
Though actually, I did notice Ruby is featured as one of the cast members, which is
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That
so
was already confirmed.
she's a fish. So it's like another.
She's a fish.
She's a fish!
That's
what we were
she
prizing her
transforms
for.
in full moon and she turns into a fish. Just
No,
Fish.
she's gonna cover the Little Mermaid story. She's gonna be Ariel.
Oh, yes.
part of your
What?
Wait,
world.
she's gonna be a wolf who can swim underwater.
Part of your world.
Under the sea! Under the sea!
I want to see that now.
Does that mean her granny's gonna be Sebastian?
Yes, I would love that. You see, waiter's always greener.
Mike, I believe you have a comment.
I do have a comment. This episode we're only gonna do one comment because we hate you guys.
Although we did get lots of cool comments, and you guys are awesome for replying to the...
Oh yeah, we appreciate all of your comments, but
We got some really detailed, awesome stuff.
our comment today is from Drake Draco 2000. They said, the problem with the book being made in the fairy tale world is that a big point was made early on about Henry ripping pages out of the book involving Emma's birth. How would those pages exist in fairy tale world if those events only occurred in minutes before the curse took over? Obviously, the book had to be written in the real world, but then you have to wonder how Pinocchio would have known enough about the events inside to write about them, Huntsman in Bondage, Jefferson in Wonderland, etc.
Well, obviously, the book is written by a very enthusiastic fan who has a lot of theories about the show, and therefore didn't know about any of that stuff, but guessed it really well.
I think the storybook is actually a fan fiction, and
Yeah.
Henry found it and just assumed it was real.
And all the characters get their memories back, and they're just completely different from how the book described them, and Henry's just weirded out. Like, wait a second, you guys all are the same characters I thought you were, but why are you, like, acting different? Why is the huntsman not crying? I don't...
This whole show is about the dangers of fan fiction and how whenever you try and make a popular fairy tale really dark and like edgy, it just makes everything worse.
It's a good point though.
Yep.
And I'm kind of wondering if the storybook is actually like maybe more than one person actually wrote the stories. If they were written in if some of them were written in fairy tale, and that's possible. Again though, having the stuff about Emma's birth in there makes it
It's
pretty.
very tough.
Yeah, it's very tough.
I actually heard a theory. I think it might have actually been in one of the other comments. If so, I do apologize. But I think I heard a theory that it might have been the Blue Fairy, that she might be one of the few people who have kept their memories. Because if you remember, we have no idea how Rumpelstiltskin or what's his name, Jefferson, were able to keep their memories.
Well,
Well, I think
that's
we
that's
understand
debatable.
Even if we can't prove it, but
Yeah, like Jefferson said that his curse is that he does remember, and he knows that he can't be with his daughter because she was the only thing that he loved that he has to be without.
Yeah, but why wasn't it like that for like another character then? Because I'm sure that could be a curse for another person that's missing their family or something. That's.
Well, sure, but we just haven't found that yet.
Well, I'm just saying is that if that's the reasoning for it, that's a pretty flimsy reasoning.
It depends, because I mean, he had been separated from his daughter in Fairy Tale Land, and that separation continued into Storybrooke. It's just that to really make him miserable, if he had no idea who his daughter was, and what had happened, then he would be totally miserable. That he wouldn't be miserable, but he is because he knows that she is his daughter and why she's not with him, and that's what really pulls him down. So, I mean, you can argue it either way, but there are reasons given. But it's a neat theory because we actually never really. It's never really hinted that the Blue Fairy remembers who she is in Storybook, but
You know
it's
what? I think it wasn't a comment because I think I'm remembering them now also say something about how like she seemed to know about August's condition or something like that.
Oh yeah, it was one of the really long comments. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was also another point that they made. But yeah, there were a couple of interesting things that it's definitely a possibility that she's actually had her memories. Oh, it was also that she wasn't very shocked or surprised when the curse was broken. Like she was, but not like a ton, not as much as she would have been.
It's an interesting thing to think about, especially because, even if August did write the book, there's so much detail about so many of the stories and he was only 8 or so or 9 when the curse came around. So how would he have known all of those by then?
Well, I think one of the other comments was that they've definitely confirmed that it wasn't August.
Okay, shall we jump right into episode 10, 7:15 a.m.? I believe, Mike, you're the one taking us into the fairy tale land.
I believe I am.
With your magic powers.
Strap on your seatbelts and strap-ons.
Strap on your strap-ons.
We're
It's
ready.
Tuck
gonna
it
be a
in.
bumpy
Tuck-
ride.
Tuck it in, Mike.
For Fairy Tale Land, then. Snow meets Red in the woods, and Red has her food for Snow and tells her that Prince James is marrying Abigail, which is, what's her name in the real world?
Catherine.
Catherine's counterpart. And then Snow wishes that there was a way to get James out of her head, because she's like, all lovesick and stuff. And Red reluctantly tells her that Rumpelstiltskin can probably do something. Then Snow and Rumple meet for the first time, allegedly. Snow tells him that she needs a cure for a broken heart. And Rumple conjures a potion using the lake water, which was interesting, and her hair, and tells her that she'll forget whoever it is that she's love struck over. Charming is in his castle, away from a feast going on in honor of the wedding, so he's not celebrating or anything like that. When King George visits him with a crown from King Midas, and then King George says that he knows that Charming is in love with another woman, and says that you're not allowed to do that. And
Hey, stop that.
You stop that.
Cut it out.
So Charming writes a letter to Snow, and Charming's dove that he sends it with, because that's how the mail works there, I guess, gets to Snow, and just as she was thinking about taking the potion, and you find out that the note says that he's in love with her and wants to be with her, and then Snow goes to the castle and fakes being a messenger. She sneaks in, and then before she can get to Charming, she's caught and tossed into prison, and then tries to get out, doesn't get out, then meets Grumpy, who is also imprisoned. They talk about love, and then when he's about to get out by the 8th dwarf Stealthy, which I thought was very well written, how they made it. So there were 8 dwarfs, but he dies immediately. That was good. Yeah. Stealthy breaks Grumpy out.
It's so ironic.
I love it. And breaks Grumpy out, and then Grumpy decides, because of their 2-minute love conversation, that he'll jeopardize his whole thing on Snow. And they get Snow out as well. And then she tries convincing them to take a different way because she knows the castle or something like that. And they don't listen, and they get caught, and Stealthy gets killed.
Stealthy,
And
no!
there are
No!
that was funny. That was really
Now he's deady.
Not dying. You're gonna break us out of prison? Yeah.
So the guards let Grumpy know, or let Grumpy go.
They let him know. hey,
No,
Grumpy.
man.
Grumpy, Stealthy has died. You see him over there? He's kind of dead. We just killed him, right?
I like that much better.
Grumpy's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because Snow's like bargaining with them to let Grumpy go, but I like it if we just change it. Please, just let Grumpy know that his friend's dead, and I will come with you. King George tells Snow that he has to tell Charming that she doesn't love him, or else he'll kill him, as in he'll kill Charming, not himself. So now Snow goes down to Charming's chambers, and because of King George, telling her to, she says, I don't love you. Also, Stealthy is dead. And,
Oh, come on now.
and then, and then he says, who's Stealthy? And then Snow leaves the castle. She's in tears because she's all upset because she had to lie. And then she meets the dwarves, and they take her home, and then it becomes Snow White and then the 7 dwarves. And she drinks the potion, or she wants to drink the potion. Grumpy says, no, don't do it. And then she does it 5 minutes later.
Yeah, right.
And Charming goes to Snow and Red's meeting spot, talks to Red, and Red says that she hasn't come back or something. And that's actually a cutscene from an earlier episode. A bit of that was a cutscene from an earlier episode where he says that where he's looking for her or something, right? Or maybe it's a future episode.
Wait, what?
It's a future one. I have a comment on
Future
that.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then Grumpy is like, "Oh, the prince is coming for you," or something like that. And then she's like, "Who's the prince?" Stealthy's dead. Because it's Grumpy.
And then mentioning that Stealthy is dead triggers Snow's memories, and she remembers.
And then the king kills himself, and everybody lives happily ever after.
Stealthy, no!
That's how it works. Okay, I guess I'll jump right into Storybrooke. So, Regina, the mayor, sees Henry talking to the stranger outside her office or her house or whatever, and Henry's trying to find out what the new guy, the stranger, is doing in Storybrooke. And she also seems to have no idea who he is. In fact, nobody knows who he is, so
What's
it's very
a candy
confusing.
little boy?
Exactly. Mary Margaret rushes out of her apartment saying she has to be at school early at 7:15 to help with a science project. She says it's a volcano,
Yeah.
which is
It's a volcano, all right.
it's a volcano of love.
Volcano of
She goes-
sexual tension.
She goes to Granny's diner
I'm all
and
hot
makes
bothered
sure
right
she's
now.
reading as though she was there the whole time. David walks in, gets coffee for himself and Catherine, and then leaves after a rather awkward conversation. And Emma comes in and is all like, "What the fuck?" and they have a conversation wherein Mary Margaret is proven, in Katie's words, to be a stalker fangirl.
She is.
And
That
then
is
Mary
the sense
Margaret
term for it.
Mary Margaret runs into Catherine in the general store, literally, and Catherine drops a pregnancy test, and the mayor's all like, "You better be discreet about this." And I'm like, "Why is Catherine telling you about trying to get pregnant? What's going on?" And then Mary Margaret is walking in the woods, and she hears a dove cooing, and she finds one trapped in a net. And I'm like, "Wow, that dove that Prince Charming sent out got lost."
Yeah.
On the way to
On the
send
way
a letter. Yeah. And she takes it to the animal shelter where David works. And I was actually gonna ask in the other episode before, because he mentions he works at an animal shelter. I was like, I don't remember that coming back, but I guess it did. But anyway, and she's told that the dove will be okay, but she needs to get back to the flock or she'll be alone forever, which is obviously a big metaphor. Anyway, but then Regina asks Emma to look into the stranger and find out who he is and what he's doing, because she's the sheriff now. And Emma's like, "Oh, why should I do it?" And Regina's like, "Dude, you're the sheriff. What the fuck?" And then Mary Margaret takes the dove to the forest despite a storm brewing. And the road Mary Margaret takes is closed, so she goes further on foot because she's very intelligent. She hears the flock, but she stops when she sees a path of destruction. The ground slips under her, and she nearly slides off a cliff, hanging on by a root. And she's like, "I wish I could be making a volcano in science class right now." David rescues her and convinces her that it's unsafe to find the flock until the storm clears. So now he's the stalker fangirl. David and Mary Margaret find an empty cabin. They break in, and David starts a fire to get them warm. And we all know where this is going. And Mary Margaret confesses she still has feelings for David and goes to the cafe at 7:15 to see him. And he says he goes there at 7:15 for the same reason. David tries to kiss her. Mary Margaret's all like, "No," and tells him that she knows Catherine thinks she's pregnant. And David is all like, "What?" Emma goes to Granny's cafe and talks to the stranger, asks him questions, and it is a great scene. He says he'll open the box if she lets him buy her a drink, and she accepts, and he shows her that inside is a typewriter and says he's a writer. The rain stops. Mary Margaret runs out of the cabin, realizing the flock hasn't left. She sets the dove free. David tries to pursue Mary Margaret a bit. She tells him that they have to forget each other, and they seem to be actually wising up to the fact that, all this stuff is probably a bad idea. David and Catherine have a talk. She says that while she understands it's hard for him, it's also hard for her. She thought she was pregnant, but she was relieved when it came back negative because they aren't ready and wants to see Dr. Hopper for help. And David's all like, yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. Yeah, I'm being a good husband. And then he suggests he won't go to the cafe in favor of having breakfast with her. And you're like, well, that's probably a good idea, David. Then the next scene, Mary Margaret and David both arrive at the cafe at 7:45 and fuck everything up because David says, oh, my wife isn't pregnant, so they decide to sacrifice their morality by making out in front of the mayor. The end.
And that about sums that last scene up perfectly.
Yep. Yeah. So this actually kind of starts off a few episodes where I actually really like the fairy tale story that happens, but I really don't like the Storybrooke stuff that happens. Like I was really interested in what was going on in Fairy Tale Land, and I thought it was neat. I liked how Rumple and Snow met, and Rumple knew who Snow was before, like without her even actually telling him. And this is also when we first see him. He takes her hair as payment, and everyone starts wondering instantly, like, what does he want with Snow's hair? And then we find out.
What did he want with the babies? I mean, geez.
Yeah, right.
I just need an army of babies.
But we
This
do
is also
find
one
out
of the
what he
first
wants.
times. I'm sorry. This is the second time you see him ridiculously giddy about getting his hands on something.
Yes, and he's the camp.
I mean, maybe the first time I watched it, it wasn't really registering with me as anything more. It's just he's collecting stuff, and we'll find out what his evil plan is eventually. But it's just another item to add to the list of mysteries. Because why the heck did he want the babies? Were the babies like sacrifices to make the curse or something? I don't even know.
That's what I was thinking. I was actually thinking that, but I was like, oh, that's a little too dark. Don't think that, Jesse.
He's a pretty dark character.
Yeah.
The best way to make true love is to sacrifice a few babies.
Well, we do find out what he wants the hair for, though. So.
Yeah, but we still don't know why he was collecting babies.
Yeah, but he never gets to do.
He wants to bring back Stealthy. Sacrifice is needed.
So he can tell him that he died.
Stealthy, you died.
I didn't realize. I totally forgot that the conversation with Snow and Grumpy when they're in prison. That Grumpy kind of adds on to the story that we know of him and the fairy later on, and this is the first we hear of it. I totally forgot about that, even when the episode with him comes up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said his whole story is that he worked in diamond mines to try and get a ring for a ring to propose to the fairy that he loved after he lost her once, and instead he got screwed over by the supervisor because it was stolen, and it was planted on him, and so he was accused of theft and thrown in prison. And so we that's A, the first we hear of his backstory, and then B, a continuation of what we see in his own episode, which is kind of neat that he tried to go back, he tried to make things right, and it failed again. Sad, but neat that he tried again.
It seems like there were a few things in this episode that really linked to other episodes, and some of which that we hadn't seen yet.
Mm-hmm.
Although I caught one that I think related to one of the ones we talked about last time. This is where Snow and the dwarves are walking together. That links to where Regina sees them in the mirror and goes, "Oh, when did she start hanging out with dwarves?"
It's the same footage as well, so they
it's
obviously
the same footage. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that actually gives a timeline.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too.
And something that we mentioned when Mike was doing the synopsis, the scene at the end with Red and Charming, that scene's in another episode later, and it's different. And this is something I caught the first time through, and I was trying to piece together. You have that scene as it's written now, but when you get to the future episode, he shows up, he's running away, and the guards show up.
Oh, yeah, and she protects him, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit different than what happens this time. Because this time he's like, I will go off and find her. Whereas in
I'm so brave.
Far more harried, because the guards are right on him. And it's interesting to see that shift slightly. And I think, I can't remember exactly, but I think there was something that in the future episode that actually hints at why that changed.
Oh, because I think this is right after August had actually altered the book.
Altered the book, yes, that's right.
And we were wondering if he had changed what it actually, we were seeing the changes that he had made or not.
So why would he have taken that out?
No, he would have added it in. He added it in.
Yeah.
Oh, so she didn't normally turn and go and defend him or whatever.
Well, I think maybe
We
the
were not
point is
sure.
that it wasn't in the book before, and now that he's added that detail, the scene is expanded upon.
Because there's a part
Possibly.
in a future episode where he adds.
But how would Pinocchio know that? He wasn't there.
Yeah,
Unless
that's
he was one of the guards or something.
That's what.
like,
Yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying they were theorizing that at the time.
yeah. Because John and I were really thinking that August wasn't a fairy tale character. He actually wrote the fairy tale book.
Yeah,
And
we had built a pretty good theory that he was a real meta character, completely outside the loop and watching from more or less a distance. And, well,
Yeah.
we proved wrong, but that's okay.
yeah, I was a little upset about that. Did anyone else think that he was kind of weird when he was talking to Emma in the diner? By the way.
It was funny though, because I kind of thought that he has that whole speech where he's like, "I could like not show you what's in the box, and you could keep guessing for ages, and then the mystery would become such a huge deal to you." I kind of felt
Yeah.
like that. I kind of felt like that was them doing sort of a hanging a lantern on the fact that that's how Lost worked, because they had that they would introduce a mystery and then leave it unsolved for about like 10 episodes.
10
and then
episodes,
reveal
more
it.
like forever.
Yeah, but it kind of felt like they were making a joke about that, and how like if they left the briefcase closed, then everybody would be like, "What's in the briefcase? What's in the briefcase? It could be this. It could be this. It could be Desmond."
It was fairly meta.
Stealthy is in the suitcase.
Yeah.
Stealthy's
up.
corpse.
I wonder.
Hey,
why-
Emma, Stealthy's dead.
It's a dwarf. What the hell?
I wonder-
It's a dead dwarf.
Oh my god. I wonder why it's a typewriter there, like as opposed to a computer, because they have computers in Storybrooke.
Maybe he
It
couldn't
would be
afford
much
it.
easier to haul around a laptop. That's all I'm saying.
So it's just the more. I guess in my mind, it's just the more romantic idea of a writer wanting to work with a typewriter. don't
I
know.
think he's a hipster. He goes
Yeah.
to Starbucks and pulls out a fucking typewriter. He's like, just writing a novel here. Don't pay attention
Yep.
to me.
Comes
That's
in
what
on his
happens.
motorcycle, he's got the typewriter, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing in the Pinocchio story about not being a hipster. There's not lying, but there's no not being a hipster. Instead of turning into a donkey, he turns into a hipster.
Oh no.
Oh my god, the transformation of that sounds fantastic.
The big horn rim glasses and
The typewriter, it actually gives you something. You type and pages come out on a computer. It's a file. You still have to go somewhere and print it. So if you're a wanderer, a laptop doesn't necessarily let you do more than get your thoughts down. You can't produce a final product and say hand it to someone.
oh true.
If he's using it to typeset the book, then it could be an enchanted typewriter from who knows where he got it.
Has anyone examined the typewriter to see if there's anything interesting about it?
No,
I
I
didn't
don't
think of
think
that.
so.
I wonder if it's
'Cause
even
it
an
hasn't-
English typewriter. That would be
Yeah.
music. It's a foreign language, foreign character set.
Yeah, because we've never seen him type on it, so
Oh,
we
you're
don't
right.
know what it does.
And I think
Yeah, they
the
built it
book-
up to be a major thing, and then after he shows you guys what it is, it's just nothing. Okay, nothing.
I think the book itself is handwritten. Looks
Right.
handwritten.
Right.
Yeah, it certainly looks it, but you wonder if he handwrote it or not.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that that all Rumpelstiltskin's talk of love ruining people's lives makes a lot more sense when we know about his backstory.
Yeah, it does.
But actually, hold on a second. Back a step here. If the book is handwritten, wouldn't it? And August is not the writer. How did he insert pages there without people seeing it clearly? As
It's
you know,
it's written in a calligraphy style. You can emulate that.
Also, maybe he had the pages and they just were taken out and he was keeping them to himself.
yeah, it's possible.
Maybe.
That's always possible.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a calligraphic style, and you can easily if you're accomplished in that kind of thing, you can easily emulate that.
I thought it was funny how Snow White was trying to kill. What was the bird at the beginning?
Wait, she was trying to kill?
Yeah, right before Red shows up, she was trying to hunt like a peacock
Oh,
or
a turkey.
turkey.
She was
Oh, a
trying to
turkey,
kill
that
a
was-
Peacock.
Yeah, that was a wild turkey.
Let's go peacock hunting.
But she
That's
had
right,
like
peacock
a.
tastes good too,
peacock.
right?
Okay. I
Martin,
didn't
that
know what
did
it
look
was.
nothing like a peacock. I'm sorry.
I thought it was stealthy.
In a disguise. Kills the bird,
He's
goes
just,
up and actually
he's just really stealthy. That's
he's
all.
really
That's a
good at
good
that.
question, because like, what did Stealthy do before he had to break Grumpy out? Because there was nothing possibly that he could do that could imply stealth, regardless, aside from escaping.
Maybe he's just a prankster or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like he just show up under your bed right as you're going to sleep or something. Boo!
No.
I like how Snow is trying to kill it with a giant spear. I think that's the best method of
Yes.
hunting a turkey ever.
Yeah, well, she doesn't have a bow. It would be a better way to hunt
Well,
it.
she was able to. Well, no, that was Charming. He had a net that came out of nowhere, but
Yeah.
giant spear to kill a turkey.
She had a stick up her butt. What?
Yeah, that spear could be used to hunt wild boar. Forget small birds.
Yeah. Maybe she was looking for boar and she spotted the turkey. I keep saying peacock.
You're doing real well today.
Yes. But also in that scene, like, in order to get Red to tell her about Rumpelstiltskin, Snow says to Red, "I helped you when no one else would." And knowing what happened in the episode with Red, what she's basically saying is, "I killed your boyfriend. You should help me."
Good point.
No.
I mean, not really, I know, but essentially she helped her to accidentally murder her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that they're
She
even
grabbed
way
her-
before that. Yeah.
But then she pulled her away to save her at when she found out what was going on. So a lot of other people would have just left her there and run away.
I guess we're not all fans of the way that storyline ended in the episode.
No, I mean, and then what sucks is that, for me, I wanted David and Mary Margaret to get together because they're Snow and Charming and they really should be together. But at the same time, this was going about it in such
Not this way!
Hey.
Not this way!
not this way, no.
Yeah, but at the same time, this just reinforces the point that the curse is always there, always meddling, always screwing things up.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
the
know
curse isn't doing it. James is. He's just
His penis.
he's an idiot.
well, yeah, and the curse made him the idiot. He was
Yeah.
perfectly intelligent over in Fairy Tale Land. He comes here and boobies. Turns into a
I mean, we even
hormone-driven moron.
We even said it, like when he first wakes up, that he starts to show the conviction that he had, and the follow through that he had as Charming, and then when he sees the windmill and gets the false memories and the curse takes hold, then he starts wavering with everything, which doesn't make it any better.
Grumpy, I mean, this is another lost connection that I always bring up for the episodes, but Grumpy keeps saying sister in reference to Snow White, and he kind of does that a lot, obviously, because he deals with nuns in Storybrooke and everything, but his constant use of the word sister reminds me of Desmond constantly calling people brother in Lost, and I just thought that was a cute little thing there. I thought that was funny. Also, I was very distracted by the fact that Stealthy looked so much like Jack Bauer.
Just watch. He's gonna get a role in this show, and then
He was...
he'll be King Triton or whatever.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
And then Martin will be like, he looks like Jack Bauer, and we'll be like, nope,
Nope.
no, I don't see it. Don't see it.
Tell me where the surface is!
Does anyone else also feel really bad for Catherine? Because
Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah, definitely in this episode, yeah.
Oh yeah.
overall, she's such a nice, she's trying so hard to be like an upstanding character, and she is a decent person, and everything's just
She's
blowing
just
up.
unlucky.
I mean, I don't feel bad towards her or anything, but before we get to her backstory episode, I just always kind of felt like she's just kind of in the way. She's a side character that's just in
Plot
the
device.
Yeah.
Same
Not,
here.
I
not
sort of
really,
like-
not really somebody that I could empathize with or sympathize or whatever.
The only other comment I had was that Grumpy says that the girl he was in love with was beautiful as a fairy, and I'm like, Grumpy, she was a fairy.
She was beautiful as a girl. Well,
Maybe he doesn't want to admit that up front. Hi, I've known you 3 minutes, but yeah, I was in love with a fairy.
Yes.
Okay, I'll be leaving now.
fairies exist.
Next episode.
Ready.
Who's
I think
it's
it's
Jazzy, I believe. Yes.
Right. Okay. So, Fairy Tale Land. A genie in a lamp, who is Sydney's alter ego, washes ashore and is found by Snow White's father, and who is the king. And the king says that he can't think of anything he desires, but he notices the genie is unhappy. And the genie would like to be free, so the king uses his first wish to free him, and uses the second to give the genie the last one, which is like the ultimate good guy king. There should be a good guy king meme somewhere. Genie says that all wishes come with a price, so he will never use the third wish. And he says he wants to find true love, and the king invites him to his palace. The king introduces the genie to Snow and Regina, and he is clearly smitten with Regina on sight. The genie. I'm sure the king loves her too, but the genie. That's the point of this episode.
Not really, actually.
Nah.
No.
At the king's birthday party, he honors Snow. Regina is by herself, clearly miserable, and leaves the party. And the genie sees this and follows her. And he tells her that he sees her as the fairest of all and gives her a mirror he owns. The king calls for the genie and tells him that he believes Regina loves another man because he's read her diary.
Great move.
Okay. That's a little personal, but all right. Acknowledges that she's been unhappy, but he tasks the genie to find the man she loves so that he can deal with him. Genie awaits Regina, but her father comes instead, telling him that the king has locked her in her chambers. He begs the genie to take a box to her because the guards will allow him in, saying it will free her. Genie goes to Regina's room, and she confesses that she loves him, and he presents the box to her. Inside is a snake with a head at each end, which is an Agrabah viper from the genie's homeland. And
that was just one snake?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was one snake.
they just had a bunch of
What?
heads.
Yeah, when it gets tossed
double-headed
into the
snake.
bed, you can tell it's just one.
Sort of like cat dog.
How does it poop anyway?
Same way cat dog does. Don't ask.
And she says that she plans to use the snake on herself. And the genie stops her and says that maybe the king could die instead and they could be together. And she accepts and says she doesn't know what she'd do without the genie. Genie sets the snake on the king while he sleeps. And he awakens just as it happens and regrets making his wish in his dying breath after the genie confesses.
And then someone tells Grumpy that the king is dead.
King, no! Genie goes to Regina, eager to run away with her, and Regina tells him that the guards have figured out who murdered the king and that she's arranged safe passage for him to leave. And then Genie figures out that Regina manipulated the whole thing so that he would get caught for, doing her dirty work. And Regina says she wanted the king killed, and as he's killed him, she has no more use for him. He says he can't live without her and makes his last wish on the lamp to always be with her. It sends him into her mirror where he can see her but is trapped. And that's how he gets there with his accent that isn't always an accent.
Storybrooke.
Okay. Oh, my
Your favorite, Katie.
favorite. Oh gosh, I would love to just never mind. Emma meets Henry by the wooden play castle. It's been half destroyed by the storm. Henry had buried the book there so Regina wouldn't find it, but of course she shows up like the next minute and decides that the wooden playhouse is way too dangerous for Henry to plant, even if it was fixed. And Emma bitches to Mary Margaret about it, and in the middle of it, Mary Margaret gets a text from David telling her to meet her in their spot, and just kind of leaves her behind in the middle of a sentence. And then a very drunken Sydney pops into her table, and he tells her that he was fired from the paper and wants to expose Regina for who she really is. And Emma brushes him off, telling him to go home because he's obviously drunk off his ass at like 10 in the morning. But takes his card when he practically shoves it in her face. And then Regina has the wooden castle bulldozed, and Henry realizes his book is gone. Then Regina and Emma have a little snark fest. And Emma gets pissed and calls Sydney and takes him up his offer as if exposing Regina as an asshole. So then we see Mary Margaret meets David at the toll bridge. He takes her to a little private spot where he set out a picnic for them, and they get all romantic. And then underneath the toll bridge, Emma meets Sydney, who tells her Regina stole $50,000 of city funds and is convinced investigating her will break things wide open. And Sydney wants to go all the way into hacking email, tapping her phone, and all that illegal stuff. And Emma says no, she has to be responsible, so she wants to do things by the book. And says, "Oh, I'm totally ready for her wrath. Like, come at me." And so then they go look through the town records and discover that the records from around the time when the transfer occurred are missing. And while they're doing this, Mary Margaret shows up because they're in, actually, the apartment. And both Sydney and Mary Margaret rationalize doing bad things for good reasons. But Emma and Sydney end up confronting Regina, and Regina says they were burnt. The records in question she had checked out, and they were probably burned in the fire that Gold had set that ended up getting Emma elected sheriff. And in the conversation, Emma plants a bug under Regina's desk, saying, "Okay, Sydney, let's do things your way, because that's a wonderful idea." And So then Sydney's sitting in the office, and apparently Regina never walks in to catch him. And he's overhearing a call and overhears a call that Regina's gonna go pay someone off in cash in the woods at night, which sounds totally legit. And they follow her completely discreetly down a road where nobody else is driving. But then Emma's brakes give out and they crash. Thankfully are not hurt. But Sydney discovers that someone's tampered with the brakes and insists it was Regina who did it. Emma gets pissed again and decides to go after her on foot, and they run into Gold, who says that she was meeting him to buy land from him. And he also cautions her about going down dangerous paths, especially emotionally driven ones. Emma and Sydney go back and they break into Regina's office and hack into her computer, finding the documents about the transaction, and also find a set of skeleton keys while they're looking around for other stuff. And Emma tries to find Henry's book but doesn't see it. Regina shows up and Emma covers for herself, saying she heard the alarm and responded and said Sydney is a witness, and he responds totally intelligently like he always does, like, what? And the stranger, August, talks to Henry in Granny's cafe later on. Henry is writing down everything he remembers from the book because he doesn't want to forget anything. He asks Henry some questions, and Henry gets awfully suspicious and then asks his own, and the stranger just kind of brushes him off. Then we see Emma and Sydney talking, and Emma is having second thoughts about stooping to Regina's level. So Sydney, to convince her, shows her a box of photos. Regina had him follow her and Henry and photograph them wherever they went, kind of, totally legit. And so Emma gets mad enough to continue. And so they go to the council meeting, best scene ever, and accuse Regina of stealing for personal use. And she says, well, yeah, I bought the land, but the plans are for a brand new playhouse for the children of Storybrooke. Isn't that wonderful? And so they kind of walk out with their tails between their legs. And Gold tells Emma afterwards that if she wants to bring Regina down, she needs a strong ally, implying himself, not Sydney. And Regina talks to Emma and says she knows perfectly well that she broke into her office, and that because any judge could grant a restraining order after what she's done, she says she's no longer allowed to see Henry unless she says so. And she also denies tampering with the car. Because I have nothing to hide, blink. So Emma goes to talk to Henry, playing at the new playhouse, but doesn't leave her car because she can't go near him, and she tells him via walkie-talkie that she has to listen to Regina this time because she screwed up and now they have to be apart for a bit, but she'll try her best to find his book in the meantime. Then we see that someone actually found Henry's box and breaks the lock open to find the book, and we see that it is the stranger, August. And at this point, we don't know his intentions, so it could either be a good thing or a bad thing that he has the book. Emma and Sydney have drinks together. Sydney promises that he's a ally and say they won't get fooled again. Then we see him go to see Regina, where it is revealed that he's been working for her all along and has recorded their conversations. And he was the one who cut the brakes and he says that she'll know every move Emma makes. And Regina says she doesn't know what she'd do without him. Dun, dun, dun. So
why do you hate that so much, Katie?
I hate how Emma she got so mad for, so easily to me, but at the same time, the reactions for me weren't, it was more like, Regina did this. Oh, well, fine, okay, I'm mad now, let's go. Come on! She's smarter than that.
Considering the source of all this information, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, she believes him way too easily, hook, line, and sinker. And he's completely drunk, and she starts off like, yeah, you're drunk, you're angry, and and why even just having a grudge, you shouldn't trust a guy like that. And then she goes to all these lengths when she knows better, and oh my God, it was such a disaster waiting to happen, and it was really obvious, especially towards the end when everything blew up in their face that Sydney was working for her. And going with the fairy tale and stuff too, it's like, okay, Sydney's probably not actually against her, and then, oh wow, big surprise, he's still working for Regina. Oh man, I just hated the whole thing.
You thought it was predictable?
It was a little predictable, but it was also just infuriating watching Emma go so far off track for a reason that really didn't seem all that believable to me.
She broke my son's playhouse.
Yeah, and I get that at this point she's been butting heads with Regina for a while, and it's annoying, but at the same time, this doesn't seem like a breaking point. It really doesn't. And and the curse isn't supposed to affect Emma. So people could argue that the curse was affecting her at that point, where she was just, kind of falling. But oh, jeez, she's not supposed to be affected, so she shouldn't lose her compass like that, her moral compass. And I just got really, really angry at how it went down.
She loses the compass, and then Henry finds it, and that's how he finds it 20 years later.
Yes.
Yeah, she really just... It doesn't give a sense that the character they've tried to portray for all the previous episodes just becomes not just no longer level-headed, but completely flaky and oblivious to obviously stupid situations.
Yeah.
I mean, she just goes completely off, runs around acting like an idiot, doing things she knows and even says are bad ideas and stupid things to do. She's like, this is a bad idea. Oh, I did it anyway. Oh, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
I did it anyway. What? This is just...
okay. Okay, I get that you're mad at Regina because she had Sydney take photos of you, but you've been thinking of Henry this whole time. You won't think of how this could potentially blow up in your frickin' face and hurt Henry.
Well, I mean, she's done that kind of thing before. Remember when she cut down, part of the tree or whatever?
We didn't like that either.
We didn't like that either, but then she stopped doing shit like that.
I'm just saying that don't say that they haven't set her up to sometimes do that before.
Yeah, but they also set her up to be growing up. That's the other thing. And she starts growing into this role of responsibility. When she chopped the branch off the tree, at that point she didn't have any real responsibility.
Now she's sheriff.
Yeah.
Now she's sheriff number one, and she's really trying to be an active role in Henry's life, and seems to be kind of getting more used to spending time with her kid. Maybe not taking a step to being his mom yet, but like his real mom. Mother figure, I should say.
Mother figure.
You know what I mean? Like, Regina's been his mother in practical purposes this whole time. I mean, so the whole thing of, she nurtured him, but Emma gave birth. So
before Emma was just pumpkin, and now she's super pumpkin. She has responsibility.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really actually did enjoy the fairy tale story. I mean, there were some things I wasn't really enjoying about. I didn't really like some parts of it, but I liked the story overall. But I really hated the Storybrooke thing with Emma. I really did.
Do we want to talk about the accent?
He really didn't have one for a good portion of the episode.
He did, and I realized it was really only when he wanted to appear impressive or exotic, when he was talking to Regina as the queen. When he was clearly smitten with her, his voice got significantly deeper. He got a little bit of the accent going on, and when he was talking to the king a little bit too, his voice would deep, and he was only in the beginning was he completely just yeah, whatever, okay, I'm just gonna talk with I
have a theory as to why he doesn't have a consistent accent. If we remember, he kind of the lamp just kind of the origin, the very first thing we see is it kind of just washes up on the shore. He's Ursula.
Ta-da!
That is my theory.
I honestly just think that he knows the accent of his homeland, and he knows it's exotic to these people, and so that when he wants an edge, he's trying to impress the girl.
Yeah.
Now, what I wonder is if he's the only genie, because if they ever cover the Aladdin stuff, there might be another genie, or he might have
Yeah, maybe we'll see Aladdin drop the lamp into the ocean or something like that.
Yeah, because I think the writer said that they would like to cover Aladdin at some point.
It'll be interesting to see if he is that genie, though, or maybe there's another one.
Robin Williams.
There might be more.
Robin Williams
They have to cast
out.
Robin Williams. Oh my God.
I would die. I would die if they painted Robin Williams blue. Had him in that.
Actually, you know what I thought was really interesting way in the beginning. He makes a neat little reference to making 1,001 wishes, as 1,001 nights and everything. But he says that every single one of them didn't end well because making a wish has a price, and that I thought was interesting, especially if they go with the route of Aladdin. That was a happy ending. How are they going to change it so that stuff?
Well, obviously, all of the endings have been changed in this series.
Well, I know that, but I mean, Snow and Charming get together. That's a happy ending. Cinderella and her prince get together.
But that's not how it ended, though. That's the thing.
I know.
Those happy events sometimes did happen, yeah, but that wasn't where it ended. So yeah, maybe the genie does get, freed or whatever in the Aladdin story. But then after that,
He can't get freed though. He's automatically different if it is the same genie.
who knows? Well, that's who knows? Maybe he gets re-enslaved or something. I don't know. I'm just saying is that
Oops.
don't. He gets 3 wishes and accidentally wishes that he was a genie again.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I'm just saying that given that he makes that whole like reference to every single wish he's made has ended up going badly, just that it's interesting because the Disney movie is all happy, and I know the stories don't just end at the happy endings, but just considering that all the wishes turned out good for everyone in the Disney version, just how they're going to change that to see how they'll deal with it, because that just was interesting to me.
Well, I actually just thought of something. Technically, the Disney movies don't always end with a happy ending because they make crappy sequels after that. And
No, Aladdin 2 doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Also, Jafar's final wish didn't turn out good for any. Well, it did turn out good, but
wouldn't it be great
turn out...
if the genie from this is Jafar?
No.
That would be hilarious. I'm sorry.
No, Jafar has to be an intelligent guy. This guy clearly can't do jack.
It's Jafar's brother. They don't talk about him much for a reason.
That's true. Maybe I would like it if this wasn't the genie from Aladdin, just because the genie from Aladdin was a much smarter character.
Yeah, he's like, oh, what? Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that's why this one's been enslaved for so long. He's too dumb to get out of it.
You can just leave.
What?
Oh. Okay.
That's an interesting point. How are they going to introduce characters that weren't in season 1 as characters that were in Fairy Tale Land before the curse hit? Because they're going to just have to assume that they were there the whole time and just not on screen.
Well, one thing to consider is, and they showed it in this episode, or no, I'm sorry, in the previous episode, episode 10, there's a TV station in Storybrooke. Where are all the people that work at that TV station?
Yeah, there's lots of stuff that we haven't seen.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying, are you really going to make us believe that these main characters or even side characters just weren't there the entire time,
No, I think they were all there. I think the curse had them even more severely locked down.
Well, I mean, just because we haven't seen them doesn't mean that they weren't there.
I'm just saying it'll be interesting to see if they're how they make them more prominent in the episodes that have already passed in.
I just really hope it's not like those 2 characters that got introduced in season 3 of Lost who just show up and they're like, we were here the whole time. What's wrong with you, Hurley? Shut the fuck up.
You know how many times they did that, though, in Lost? They did that a ton of times. Like with the second half of the plane and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that they do, like, a lot.
It would be okay in Storybrooke because it's not like these people are all gathered on a beach. These people are living their lives in a big town,
It's a bad part of Storybrooke, so no one goes.
Yo, this is Magnolia from the street.
There's graffiti everywhere.
Aladdin's got to being a street rat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Actually, I wanted to ask what you guys thought specifically with Regina in the Fairy Tale Land, because reading, I really paid attention.
I think she's hot.
Yeah, she is. Just reading into her reactions to stuff, was everything completely manipulated from the start? With the down to the diary entry so that the king would find it, or did she use manipulation as a reaction to it? Did she maybe have start having feelings for the genie, or was it just manipulation from day number 1?
I think it was manipulation all along.
Her dad is again used as a throwaway character again, just somebody helping her.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was planned.
Well, yeah. A lot of it was planned. I know that the second half was planned, but like in the beginning when they meet, when he talks to her and gives her the mirror, and she seems really touched, and then writes the journal entry. Like, did she, when she wrote the journal entry, was that a manipulation, or was that like, oh wow, like this, not that she had, fell in love with him, but oh wow, this was a nice guy, and I liked talking to him, and maybe
it sounded a lot more romantic than that, and I don't think she's actually felt that since her boyfriend was killed.
Yeah. It just
I think it was manipulation because she probably knew all along the king was reading the diary, and she knew just by looking at the guy from the first time, oh, he's smitten with me. Love makes people
and
dumb.
He's a genie.
It wasn't very subtle.
Yeah, it wasn't very subtle, and it didn't come across as very smart to begin with. So she probably saw this as just a golden opportunity to use them.
Also, if we're going to look at the fact that, as always, they do reflect what happens in Storybrooke with what happens in Fairy Tale Land. Regina was in control the whole time in Storybrooke. Presumably, Regina was in control the whole time, no matter what she made it look like in Fairy Tale Land in this story.
Yeah, down to her being miserable at the party, even, you know. Which, by the way, I wanted to bring that up too because clearly Regina is unhappy, and actually, if you pay attention to how the king introduces the genie to Snow and Regina, he's kind of flat and like, oh yeah, this is my wife. You know, this is my daughter Snow.
It's really weird because, like, he goes from being this really outgoing, generous. You're a random genie I found. I'm just gonna be super nice to you. I don't really like my wife.
Yeah, like.
Well, what do you expect him to be? A perfect character?
Well,
you
no,
know?
but he goes from being this really nice guy, like, I'm gonna be really magnanimous and do something that like no one would ever do for a genie, and then I'm gonna read my wife's diary.
No. Hold on a second, because if I was married to Regina, I'd be like that. Oh yeah,
What?
her.
If you were an old guy married to a beautiful young woman like that, you'd be like,
She was a bitch.
No. Here's the catch. Here's the catch. The king knew who Cora was,
wait, what?
and
What?
I guarantee you,
What?
Regina's mother.
Oh,
Okay.
He
Cora's
knew
in
her and her
Storybrooke.
reputation. The spawn of Satan. Yeah, okay.
I was like,
I'm gonna trust
he
that.
watches Korra? What?
Yeah, me too. Cora's in this universe. I will die. I will die. I will die. Storybrooke used to be a cool place, but everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
see, like but in Snow's episode, the young Snow's episode, he takes an interest in Regina because she seemed like a really nice person. And she took a good interest in Snow, and he says, you know, no one's really taken an interest in my daughter. They would only marry me for my title or my money. And so it's in the beginning, at the very least, it seems like, and I don't think she would have gone to being bitchy to him and Snow, even given stuff that happened. She was because Snow totally bought that she mourned for the king when he died.
Yeah.
So she had kept up at least an aura of, you know, being a nice person and being genuinely okay with being
I
there.
don't know. I mean, there's obviously a significant time gap between her getting married to this guy and now. I'm sorry, but with her being so bitter about this the entire time, there's no way that she came across as a truly loving person. They must have known something was up.
Yeah,
Maybe
the
the
two
king
of them had to have known, you know, both of them. We're not in love. We're just
Can you
making
imagine the
promotions for
awkward?
the goodness of all.
Can you imagine the
Yeah.
post-sex awkwardness? I mean, that.
How do
Just
we know
saying.
they had sex?
How do we know? Yeah, they might not have.
He's an old dude. He probably can't.
That's even worse.
So I've also got a question about the king, this magnanimous, generous, amazing king.
Yes.
Check out his castle. What kind
Okay.
of happy, lovey-dovey king builds this doom fort up in the
Ladies.
I like to think
Maybe-
that being nice to the genie was the only good thing he's ever done in his entire life, and aside from that, he just tortures people and is like in the basement.
He's a tyrant.
Did anybody else notice that Mary Margaret has like the shittiest phone ever?
Yes. Is it the Nokia? Like,
It's like a really basic, yeah,
old crappy Nokia.
old crappy
Mhm.
Nokia.
well, I don't remember if we touched on this recently or anything, but didn't we notice that nothing in Storybrooke is truly modern? Like their
Yeah.
phones are old, their TVs are old, their computers are old.
Yeah, because none of those things are modern.
No, but I mean, like, this apparently takes place in present day, like presumably present
Oh
day.
yeah, so their technologies are from 10 years ago. Ooh, that's so old. I'm just saying. You know.
Well, for Mike, in terms of cell phones and computers, yes, I'm sorry, 10 years is ancient.
Okay, so just ostracizing every person that's listening to this podcast that's over 25 years.
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying, like, I mean, they have the telephones. A lot of the telephones, like the corded phones they use, are the dial phones, which aren't, you know, I haven't seen too many people in the last 20 something years use a turn dial phone instead of just, you know, a modern button phone.
I'll be really quiet now.
They must all look at August's typewriter and be like, oh, he's so far behind, and then they pull out like a giant phone from the 80s with an aerial.
I don't know. I just noticed, like, the cars aren't, you know, they just don't have nothing.
Emma comes in with a bug that looks like a couple of years ago, and everybody's like, "She's from the future."
In fact, you know what just occurred to me?
It
The
does.
only really modern car in the show that you see is Regina's.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone else owns something that's 15, 20
Emma's.
years old. What?
Emma's.
Well, no, people who live in Storybrooke.
No, people who are living.
She kept the
and
good shit to herself.
The VW Bug, it could be new. It could be a little bit older. In fact, what style does she have? New body or old body?
I don't know. Like, because like Emma in Boston had, had like a real modern apartment, and like they were in modern day Boston with like the like everything up to the minute, and then she goes to Storybrooke and things just seem like they're just a little bit behind in terms of like technology and whatnot, and it just seemed interesting. That's all.
Oh, and yeah, actually, her Bug is an old style, not one of the modern ones.
Oh, that's
Wait.
true. But
Wait, hold on. There's super modern elevator that you have to manually crank somebody down. to fight the
Oh
giant.
yeah, the steampunk elevator.
That's
Yes.
totally from like they just invented that like yesterday.
Futuristic.
oh,
It's
true.
super
That's,
modern.
awesome. That's true. I'm totally. Oh yeah, totally right.
One other thing I caught, and I have no idea if this was intentional on their part, accidental, whether they thought this through or
I'm
it was just
sure they would
something
claim that it was totally intentional.
I'm sure they will. When the king frees the genie from his bonds and the bracers drop off of him,
Mhm.
the skin underneath has a gold tint to it, a lot like Rumpelstiltskin has.
Huh.
Really?
Right where those bracers were, right where his curse
The
was.
genie is Rumpelstiltskin.
So you kind of wonder if maybe a curse has that effect, because the bracers were his curse, and underneath he looked a lot like Rumpelstiltskin. And Rumpelstiltskin, well, he's the dark one. He's cursed head to toe.
And he pretty much comes right out and says, all wishes come with a price, which, harkens to
Yeah.
Rumpelstiltskin.
That would be really great. Just he breaks character for that one line. All wishes come with a price.
Yeah, Rumple just jumps out of nowhere and says the line and leaves.
Condescending.
What the fuck was that?
Condescending Rumple.
Stealthy is dead.
But I found that kind of cool. I'm going to keep my eye open for that in future episodes,
Ah.
just
Yeah,
to
that
see if
is-
randomly it pops up again.
Because maybe becoming a genie is a curse. It's not like he's not like a magical creature. It is a curse that he
Yeah.
got upon himself or something.
I like
That's interesting.
I like that the first wish is to free the genie, but then he's like, but I still have 2 more wishes, so don't go anywhere.
Well, the genie tells him, he's like, you still have 2
No,
more.
I
You
know. I just thought it was pretty funny that it's like, I'm free,
Oh.
I'm free. Still have to do what you do for a couple more times. Though.
Yeah, but the thing is, the genie says that the wishes are in the lamp,
Yeah.
not in him.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
that's-
noticed that at the beginning of this episode, the 3 gemstones on the top of the lamp are green, but when he makes the wish to forever be with the queen, and it falls to the ground, all 3 gemstones are red.
Well, I guess that's the wishes. It's like, bing, bing, bing. They must turn
Yeah.
red. There's that one scene where Emma is searching through the mayor's office and they find those keys, and she's like, I wonder what these are for. And do we ever find out?
Yes, we do, because
Yes.
she opens whose apartment does she? Is it Mary
Mary-
Margaret's?
Mary Margaret's to plant the knife.
That's
Is that
right.
what you're
I don't know.
thinking
We
of?
see her at some point using a skeleton key to get into. I think it was Mary Margaret's apartment, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
those
If this,
keys let her into everywhere in town.
I don't know
Yeah.
if this means anything, but I do know that in like certain video games that I've played, skeleton keys are items that unlock anything.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you
think
had
literally
to
what-
you had to play a video game to find that out.
I actually wouldn't know that either if it weren't for video games, so I agree with you, Mike.
Well, where else have I seen? I haven't seen that in a movie or.
No one's taught me what a skeleton key is. I had to
You guys have to
learn
read
it.
more books.
You're
Books.
funny.
Books, role playing, like tabletop games, any kind
You
of.
can't play a book. Ooh.
Okay, so the early scene, the gemstones don't change from 3 green to anything else.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
guess they just go green to red when the thing's tapped out.
I guess so.
Maybe.
Maybe that.
Or maybe it was a sign that because he had officially left the lamp at that point, and the lamp was useless because there was no genie to grant the other wishes anymore. He was in the mirror now. Because he even set free, he kept the lamp with him, so maybe there was still a connection between them. But once he got put into the mirror, that connection was gone. So maybe that's the sign too.
Yeah, that's possible.
You know, I hate when, and I just saw Brave, so this kind of connects to it. But I hate when like a character manages to screw themselves over with a wish specifically because they phrase it in a really awkward way that could be interpreted numerous different fashions, like in
I
Bray.
hate the Fairly Odd Parents episode on that then.
But in this case, it's like the genie. What does he wish? That I will never leave your side, and that couldn't possibly blow up in your face.
I'll never leave your side, and I'll always be able to look on your face. Oh, mirror.
Is there now a third wish left?
No, because the second one was
king
free.
is yeah,
No, the second one was to give the wish to him.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But,
the first one was to free him. The second one was I wish that you can use the third one. And so he said, okay. And then the third one was to be with Regina.
But I
But
mean,
didn't they say, like, after that, didn't they have, like, a dialogue about how, yeah, so I'm never going to use this? And he says, yep, you're wise. They both agree that he should never use the wish. So shouldn't the second wish, instead of I give this wish to you, have been something like, my second wish is that I don't have a third wish?
Well, no, because they have that conversation after
yeah,
he gives the wish
yeah.
to them.
The point is, regardless of what they wished for, even if they wished that the wish not be able to be used, they were going to blow up because freeing the genie and giving him the wish were what caused the king to die, regardless of what the genie's wish were. So all the wishes went wrong.
Yeah, really.
So ultimately, whatever that you wished for, there would have been some sort of negative payback. Even if it was, I wish I had a turkey sandwich, it probably would have turned out bad because somebody would have been like, "That's my turkey sandwich," and punched you in the face.
Or would have had salmonella.
Yeah.
I wish for a banana, and then they trip on the people.
And maybe honestly, the king probably didn't know because the genie says, I watched all the wishes that I granted go bad. And so the king probably doesn't know that. Okay, he made a wish to free him, but he probably doesn't think that applies to, freeing someone from a prison, So the genie says, look, I've seen these things go wrong and I'm just not going to use this third wish. And he's like, oh, well, that's a wise thing to do then. That's how I interpret it.
It's interesting because, like, I mean, the way I interpret all of Fairy Tale Land is almost like, if you use magic, it will blow up in your face and ruin everyone's lives. So now that, as we see leading into season 2, magic is probably going to be a lot more prevalent in the real world. How is it going to fuck up the real world?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
And
Honestly,
you kind of get the impression that magic acts erratically here. I think someone mentioned that. So you got to kind of wonder, do they start trying to sling spells and weird stuff's going to happen?
I'm still not sold on the idea that that they're all going to be staying in the real world, and that there's just a different rule set or something like that. Or now there's magic, or now they get to keep the memories or something like that. So I'm not convinced about that at all. I think that the season 2, the way that it's going to play out, is going to be completely different from whatever you're expecting.
That's possible.
I don't see that happening. I see it being structured pretty much the same, but just I think the flashbacks will go to a whole other like timeline. But I think I think the structure won't be too far gone from season 1 because number one, I think it would be too jarring, and number two, they just changed. Didn't they change the time slot for the show to be a more like prime time thing? So they'll be
I didn't know that.
They'll be introducing a lot of new viewers, and if suddenly it's like, whoa, we're changing things around, it's all going to be weird and different, I think that'll be too disorienting for new viewers.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if season 2, because Magic will be back in Storybrooke, I'm wondering if people are going to say, well, we want to go home. We want to go back to the fairy tale world where we like our castles and everything. And so then the goal for season 2 becomes, can we get back? Is there something
we
that
get
can
off
bring
the island?
back?
I mean Storybrooke.
Yes. No, it's interesting though. It could happen because people might wake up and they're like, this place sucks. I remember castles and shit now.
Guys, I totally understand what's going to happen now. Magnolia's boyfriend or whatever, or boy interest, is going to be the Asian guy from Lost, and he's going to say, "This town is bad."
Let's get down to business.
This is the second podcast in a row where Mike's been very racist.
We'll keep a list.
I didn't even say anything about the genie guy this time.
You found a way to create a character that didn't exist and made it racist. Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how the magic certainly affects me. And I definitely think that it'll be interesting to see how people who have never had any experience with magic, like Emma or Henry, will be affected by magic suddenly being in their essentially in their possession and being like attainable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wonder. There are some people who are wondering if Emma will discover she has magical powers
I think she's gonna.
I think because she was the foil to the curse, but she doesn't come. I mean, this isn't. I mean, not that this is genetic or anything, but she doesn't come from a family that has magical properties really. So I don't know. It could be though. It'd be kind of interesting if she did.
Yeah, hard to tell.
But yeah, I think leading into that, I was trying to say that the genie's final wish doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, the way the wish is translated, because he wishes to never leave her side, and so he's put into a mirror. But we've seen her like dozens of times where there's no mirrors anywhere after he makes that wish. So there's plenty of times where he's not by her side.
And another thing is, he's seen 1,001 wishes go bad. You'd think he'd have phrased it.
You'd think he'd have phrased it better. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, God, you just screwed yourself. You have no excuse. You can't possibly blame magic for that.
Well, I mean, we know how bright he is in both worlds, so...
He seemed kind of smarter as the genie, though.
He did seem smarter as a genie.
Everyone seemed smarter before the curse.
I think we agreed that the only character that really didn't change that much as far as personality goes was Grumpy into Leroy.
Yeah.
And he still is kind of, in the real world, I mean, he's a little reluctant to get involved in everything, but he's still, when he has his mind set on something, he's very forthright and focused.
I kind of wish we'd seen more of the. I wish we saw more of the other dwarves in Storybrooke, because we've seen them kind of cameo, but not really.
What can you do with Sneezy? You know.
Well, I know, but it would be kind of.
We saw him.
We saw him,
they
but
also were more.
It's the other ones that we haven't seen much of.
You know what's kind of interesting?
General,
Come to think of it, the dwarves didn't change.
But
they lost their memory, but they're still the same people they were over in Fairy Tale Land. Their personalities are the same, their behavior, mannerisms.
That's because they weren't really developed and they're kind of gimmicky.
They're like all the dwarves. They're not real
They're not people.
We'll just keep the same. The curse is racist.
The curse is racist.
The curse is racist. A new podcast.
Well, I guess we'll have to end it there then. Katie, would you like to take us out?
Before that, we have to say we're probably going to skip next week. So our next episode will probably be in 2 weeks.
Yes, we most likely.
Due to scheduling conflicts.
Yeah, sorry about that,
because
guys.
we hate you.
Yes.
We just feel like, hey, we hate them so much. Let's not do one next week. And we clap.
Oh, no. We are Once Upon a Time fans, and you are listening to The Curse is Real. I hate Sydney so much. Oh my god.
We should point out that this episode is dedicated to the memory of Stealthy.
Yes.
In loving memory.
In loving memory.
In eyes of danger.
Oh god, we're terrible.
King George tells Snow that
He's dying.
he's still going.
Martin's like dead.
Okay.
King George tells Snow that Stealthy is dead. No.
Oh my god!
I've never heard Martin ever.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, so, like we were saying, King George.
You're the most thorough professionals here.
Okay.
That would be great. You have to tell my son that you don't love him or I'll kill him.
No, don't do it. I'll do whatever you
And then he kills himself and then they don't go.
Elf's gone. He's gone. All my friends are dead.
What the hell? Oh,
It's the Hamlet of episodes. Everyone just dies.
Everyone except for Grumpy and one person who tells Grumpy that
Why does he get to live?
because they have to tell him.
Someone needs to tell him to live.
live.